I have actually already begun solving the problem where we've been working with factored form. And with factored form, we did talk about how we could find the x-intercepts really easy from factored form. So x-intercepts are easily to see from factored form. So basically we set this equal to 0, and then we split and we set each one. So I had x plus 5, or x minus 5 equals 0, and then x minus 1 equals 0, and we solved it for x equals 5 and x equals 1. When we write that as a point, 5 becomes the x. X also 1 becomes the x, so it's 5, 0 as a point, and 1, 0. So we put those points on the graph here and here. Then we went to the back of our paper. I gave everybody a yellow paper that summarized standard form, factored form, and vertex form. And on the back, we thought we would write just a couple of notes that would get us going. So we said, hey, when you find the x-intercept, you're going to let y equal 0. That's just basic information about how you can look at intercepts all the time. I would have an x number, but the y number would always be 0. If you find y-intercepts, let x equal 0. So the y number is known and the x is 0. So then when we went to this one, we decided, hey, I'm going to let my x be 0. So it says let x equal 0 because we want to find our y-intercepts. So I let x be 0, and we solved and got a positive 5 for y. So positive 5 for y, and we put that point on the graph up here. So this is where we are. We were just at the point where we were talking about, hey, does it turn up or turn down? We know it turns up because it's implied to be positive in the very beginning. So if it's positive in the front, that knows that it's going to turn up, and if it turns up, it's going to have a low point. Low points are called minimums. So we decided to go to the back, and we went ahead and we sketched. If it turns up, it has a minimum. If it turns down, then it has a maximum. So that was just some basic information to add to our sheet. The yellow sheet that Ms. Jessup has provided for you is just there for information. It's just a resource sheet. There's no exercises for you to do. Okay, let's continue. The next thing we want to do is we want to talk about the vertex. If I touched at positive 1 and I touched at positive 5, doesn't it make sense that the vertex would be somewhere in the middle? Now, we've never done this before, so this is new information. Is everybody ready? Everybody ready? So here we go. 1 to 5. How many spaces is there between 1 and 5? Well, there's 4 total, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. If I came in the middle, I'd come in what? I'd come in 2. So if I come in 1, 2, if I come to the other side, I come in 1, 2. I think I'm going to end up right here. I want you to do a dashed line straight up and down. And what number does that fall on? Falls at 3, doesn't it? Falls at 3. So basically, you could find the middle by 1 plus 5, 6, and to cut that in half, it's actually how you find midpoint. So we're trying to find the midpoint between 1 and 5, so we know it's 3. Basically, you just drew the line. So if I draw the line, if I folded my paper across that line, the left side of my parabola and the right side of my parabola would match. Ma'am? It will. If you take your 2 x-intercepts, it's always going to be in the middle between them, and that would always give it to you. Add them up and divide by 2. Okay, I'm looking at your yellow sheet under factored form. Do y'all see where it's giving you some examples here? At the bottom, it says x-intercepts goes in the parentheses opposite the number. The axis of symmetry is at the midpoint of 2 x-intercepts, and my equation is an x equation. So I'm going to add that up here, over here. Axis of symmetry. Write this down. Yes, ma'am, you have to. You're going to be asked about it on the test. So I want you to be practicing with it now. Okay, that line, it does not cross the y-axis, it crosses the what? X-axis. At what number does it cross? 3. X equals 3. Okay, next thing. We still got to find the vertex. What I do know is I know somewhere down here down here in this lower region. My vertex is going to be on this line, but I don't know where. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to use, okay, we're going to use in x equals 3, and we're going to put it in the equation here, and there's an x equals 3 here. We're going to solve for the y answer so we'll know where the vertex is. Let me say that one more time. I do not know yet where the vertex is, but I know it's going to be somewhere up and down this line. Do y'all agree? I might go this far down, I might go this far down, I might go way down here. Okay, it depends. To find out, I do know it's going to be somewhere on the x equals 3 line. So I'm going to use the equation to help me find it. Everybody good? So y equals, what number are we let x be again? 3. 3 minus 5, and then what again? What x is again? 3 minus 2. Or excuse me, 3 minus 1. What's 3 minus 5? Negative 2. What's 3 minus 1? Positive 2, but you're ahead of me. Negative 2 times positive 2 is what? Negative 4. Guess where the vertex is located? Well, x was a 3, right? X was a 3. What's y? Negative 4. We just solved for the first time our vertex using the equation. Okay? So I'm going to do what? So over 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. I now have my vertex on the graph. I know my vertex is a minimum on the graph. Do I have enough points that I pretty much know how it's going to look? You should have enough points that you can actually fill in the shape. So I'm going to cross the y-axis up here at this one. Come on down, make the U-turn, and come back up. And I have my parabola on my graph. Okay. Do you see how we're pulling a lot of stuff together? There's a lot to this. X-intercepts, y-intercepts, axis of symmetry, vertex, max or min. We got one blank that hasn't been filled in yet. How do I go from factored form to standard form? How would I do that? How would I do that? I'm going to clean this up. How could I do that? All right, so we were saying it. We're going to multiply this. So I'm going to take x times x. What's x times x? X squared. X times negative 1. Negative 1x. What's negative 5 times x? Negative 5x. What's a negative 5 times a negative 1? Positive 5. Now I do have some cleanup in the middle. Negative 1x and negative 5x. My standard form is x squared minus what? 6x plus 5. Now, y'all don't believe me that works, do you? It works, you believe me? So we went to the calculator, and we're going to type in x minus 5 and x minus 1. I'm going to do this zoom 6 on a standard window. Y'all see the curve come in? Does that kind of look like where ours was? Okay, what if I go to y equals, and I put the second equation in, what was it? X squared what? Minus, what was it? 6x. 6x plus 5. What happened? It's the same thing. It did graph it. Did y'all see it graph it? It worked, but the graph of the second equation came in right on top of the first equation. So those two equations, it doesn't matter which one you type in, they're both going to show you the exact same thing. All right. Let's see if we can go a little quicker. We spent a long time on that one. Who knows what to do for x-intercept? So 0 is equal to x minus 1 and x plus 4. If I split, anybody know what they are automatically? Positive 1 and negative 4. Because they come out of parentheses what? Opposite. Remember, we keep running across that phrase, inside, opposite, inside, opposite. So right now, can I go to positive 1 and negative 4. So put your x-intercepts on your graph. By the way, that would actually be the point 1, comma, 0, and negative 4 for x, comma, 0. Can anybody help me do standard form right now? What would I do to go from factored form to standard form? Lobster claw. I want to pause, see if you can figure out factor form, and when you do, I'm hoping you can tell me what the y-intercept is just like that. We're all about trying to figure out the easiest way to do it. So we lobster clawed x minus 1, x plus 4, we got x squared plus 3x minus 4. Does anybody know the y-intercept just like that? Negative 4. So y-intercept, negative 4, which means that's the y number, and the x number is 0. Everybody good with that? So I'm going to come down here. I'm off a little bit. There we go. I was trying to make it. Come on, Penny. Okay, we'll stop right there. So 0 and negative 4. 1, 2, 3, negative 4. Huh. That don't look really good, does it? There's the next question. I'll put negative, positive 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's the next question. Vertex is going to be halfway in the middle, isn't it? How far is it, though, between positive 1 and negative 4? If we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, what? It is at negative 1.5. It's 5 spaces, isn't it? Now that means it's not going to be perfectly on a line. It's going to be at a half. So if you want to find the vertex, take negative 4 plus 1, it's negative 3, divide that by 2, negative 1.5. So my vertex and my axis of symmetry, can we just call it line of symmetry? Do y'all like axis of symmetry? Line's better? Okay. X, negative 1.5. Okay, it's got to go right down the middle. So I'm going to come backwards 1 and halfway through the next. Put a dashed line right in the middle of those blocks. This time I need my calculator. We ready to do our calculation? What number is going in for x? Okay, it's going to be what? Negative 1.5 minus 1, and then what? Negative 1.5 plus 4. And by the way, I'm going to do that on my home screen on my calculator, and I'm not going to worry about doing that in my head. I think it's like 6 or something, isn't it? Anybody got it yet? Parenthesis, negative 1.5 minus 1, close parenthesis. Open up another one, negative 1.5 plus 4, close parenthesis. Anybody get negative 6.25? Does everybody see what I did? I just used my calculator. So, I'm going to have to stop and clean that probably next period. It's giving me a message. So where's the vertex at, guys? Well, the x is negative 1.5, comma, and it's what, negative 6.25? It's about ready to clip off. Hopefully I get there. Negative 1.5, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go just under the 6. Everybody get just under the negative 6? Go down negative 6 and just under negative 6. Do you now know where the graph is? Do you have enough points that you can see where it's going to be? Down, turn, like the U, come back up. Okay, only question we haven't answered. Is this a max or a min? This is a minimum. It has the lowest point on the graph. So my vertex, -1.5, -6.25, just below the 6, and it is a minimum. So this is about pulling in all different kinds of pieces of information from two different forms. So far we're working with factored form, and we're also looking at what? Standard. We haven't done much with vertex form. We will probably on the next one. Everybody good? What do you feel about this? Okay, we've on the next one. First question I want to ask you. I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to look and give me a quick answer. Does this parabola turn up or turn down? Turn down. Nice job. Right away, you picked out that that's a negative, so that means it turns down. So if this graph turns down, does that have a minimum or a maximum? This is the time I'm going to have a maximum. So it's all about just learning a different piece of information. You guys are doing better than you think. Okay, factored form should give me x-intercepts really easy. I don't even need to look at the negative out front. That's separate. I just look inside the parentheses. Anybody know what my two x-intercepts are? -2 and +4, which corresponds to -2, 0, and +4, 0 when I put them on a graph. Okay, let's go do that. -2, 0, +4, 0. Is everybody feeling good about x-intercepts? Factored form is perfect for that. Now, standard form is going to take a little bit longer. It is, but then you got to come back and change the sign of everything, right? Okay, let's ignore the negatives. Everybody good? Ignore the negative for now. It's x times x. X times -4. It's 2 times x. +2. What's +2 times -4? -8. Now let's go ahead and clean this up. X squared -2x -8. But then remember that negative sign I said let's wait to the end? What is that negative sign going to do to every single term we just got? It's going to change the sign. So that's my standard form. Negative x squared. Instead of saying subtract 2x, it's going to say plus 2x. Instead of saying -8, it's going to be what? +8. Anybody know my y-intercept? 8. My y-intercept is 8. So 0 for x and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That shouldn't even be the middle. So my graph's going to go a little bit above where this is. Everybody good so far? So far, are you feeling comfortable standard? And you know your x-intercepts, y-intercepts, vertex. Where's the vertex going to be? It's going to be halfway in the middle. Let's take the two numbers. What are my two numbers? -2 and +4. Add them up. 2. Divide that by 2. That's what you do to get midpoint. You add them up and divide by 2. So what is it? 1. So I'm going to come to +1, and I'm going to draw a line all the way from the bottom to the top at +1. You got yours on there? So what's the line of symmetry equation? That's not just one spot, it's a line. What's the equation of the line? Is it an x equals or a y equals? Which equation does which one does it touch? It crosses the x. It touches x. And what number does it touch? It touches it at 1. X equals 1. All of our lines of symmetry are x equals lines. Which tells me the vertex is going to be where? The vertex is going to be somewhere on that line, so it's going to be at what? I think it's going to be at 1 something. Isn't it going to be at 1 way up here somewhere? Right? By the way, could you put 1 for x in here, or could you put 1 for x in here and still get the same answer? You could put it in either one. Which equation do you want to use? Use the equation. Do you want to use the factored or the standard? Factored. Okay, let's use factored. So I'm going to say y equals negative out front. Then it's going to be what? 1 plus 2. And then it's going to be what? 1 minus 4. Do y'all remember us doing this before? Use the equation to get the y part. So I'm going to hide the negative out front. What's positive 2 and 1 plus 2 is 3. What's 1 minus 4? Negative 3. And then I have a negative out front. What's a negative out front times 3 times another negative 3? What's a negative times a negative? Positive. Positive what? 9. So my vertex is 1, 9. Over 1, up 9. So should just be 1 up here, 1 above it. I think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It just goes up 8. So just go 1 little dot above it. Do you now have enough points to know what the graph looks like? Yes. Guys, we're working with factored form, standard form. We haven't really worked with vertex form, but we're getting ready to in just a minute. Okay, moving on to the next one. Next question. Turn up or turn down? This one turns down. This negative right here means it turns down. Okay, so it's going to look like that generally. Max or min? Maximum or minimum? Maximum. So I know I'm looking for a high point. How many parentheses do I have? 1. But how many x's do I have? 2. So guys, that means I have 2 x-intercepts. So if you set this equal to 0, you do. You do, it repeats though. Okay, let me ask you a question. I have 2 x's. Could I, if I wanted to, could I actually write that as x plus nothing? Does everybody understand what I just did? If you could imagine, there is an x right here that's kind of sticking out without parentheses. But if you had to, could you say plus 0? Does that give you a clue what the first 0 or x-intercept is? What's the first x-intercept? 0. So the first x-intercept is 0. What's the second x-intercept? What is it? Negative 3. I thought somebody said 3. Negative 3, 0, and 0, 0. Uh-oh. Let me ask you a question. If you touch right here in the center, are you touching the x-axis? Yes. You have an x-intercept there. Are you also touching the y-axis? Yes. At the same time. So guess what your y-intercept is? 0. So in that case, in this one problem, because it actually touches in the very center, 0, 0 is touching x and it's touching y. Ooh. Where would the, oh, do you want to do standard form? There is no lobster claw this time, it's just straight up multiply. Take negative x times x. Negative x squared, y equals. What's negative x times positive 3? Negative 3x. There is no number out here, but if you had to write one, what would it have been? Plus 0, which is exactly what the y-intercept is. Does everybody see how that connects? Okay. All right. What's exactly in the middle between 0 and negative 3? I got to think. 2's not in the middle. 1.5. Or you could say 0 plus negative 3 is negative 3. Divide that by 2. You get what? Negative 1.5. You're doing midpoint formula, adding up the 2 x-intercepts to find the one in the middle. So I'm going to go backwards, one, and halfway through another one. You should be drawing a line straight up and down in the middle of the box. Have you done this one yet? Draw that line in the middle. It's at negative 1.5. So now, where's my line of symmetry located? Is it an x equals or a y equals line? x equals. It crosses the x-axis, and it crosses it right there. And that number is what? -1.5. My vertex is somewhere on that line, so that the left half and the right half would match. So my vertex would be where? Have you already done it yet? I need the y answer. So I'm going to use the equation, -x, then x plus 3. So do you do negative of -1.5, then -1.5 plus 3? Don't forget your negatives. Should I get a positive number or a negative number? Should I get a negative? Okay, it looks like the graph's supposed to go up, right? So it should go up here. Anybody got it yet? Positive 6.25? Use your calculator. Is everybody picking up a calculator? Where's your calculators? You need to practice this. Type it in exactly the way you see it. If you don't practice, you'll say, you know what, I don't remember how to do that. Negative on the outside. Parentheses, -1.5. Close them. Then open up parentheses. -1.5 plus 3, close parentheses. I end up with what? 2.25. 2.25. Okay, does everybody see how we got that? Pick up your calculator. Let the calculator do the work for you. So 2.25. So -1.5, up 1, up 2, a little bit above the 2. And there's where I'm going to put my above the 2. Do you have enough points to know where to draw the graph? Well, we know it's going to turn down. We know it has x-intercepts and 1 y-intercept. That's close enough. Could you get the same thing if you picked your calculator up? Yes. Do you get what we're trying to do here? We're trying to learn and pull pieces of information, sir. Okay. Now, I think the next page, we switch. We're switching. Y'all have this sheet? This time they gave me standard form. I have to figure out what? Factored form. What can I easily say from this one? Is this turn up or down? Well, it's implied to be positive, so it tells me it turns up. So it looks like that. Is that a maximum or a minimum? Minimum this time. Everybody good? Can I easily find the x-intercepts, or can I easily find the y-intercepts? Y. Y-intercepts. The number at the end is my y-intercept. So y is equal to what? 0 for x, -16 for y. I believe Miss Jessup doesn't have enough room on the graph to do it, do I? So all we can do is we're going to go down here way low, and we're going to just put a point way down here. Just go below your graph, off of it a little bit. That's the best we can do. And we're just going to call that -16. Aren't we? We're going to call that -16, aren't we? Okay. Can we factor this? Can we get factored form from this? Anybody recognize this? This is a special factoring case. It is not a trinomial. Dots. It's dots. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Miss J.C., for remembering it's dots. We hadn't done dots for a while. She did. She said it. Okay. How do I factor dots? Y equals 2 sets of parentheses. How do I split x squared, and is x 16 a perfect square? What is it? X and x. 4 and 4. Remember, that's a perfect square. So it's got to be the same thing times the same thing twice to be a perfect square. 1 plus and 1 minus. So x plus 4, x minus 4. Yes. What are your x-intercepts right here? 4, negative 4. X-intercept's negative 4, and x-intercept is positive 4. Negative 4, 0, and positive 4, 0. Put those points on your graph. Put your points on the graph. Now, line of symmetry. What number falls exactly in the middle between negative 4 and positive 4? 0. So guess where your axis of symmetry is? That's going to be the line what? So my line of symmetry is at x equals 0. We're almost done. Now this is an odd equation. We can actually change from standard form, factored form, and this time we're going to change it to guess what? Vertex form. And here's how we're going to do it. To change it to vertex form, I have to do nothing. Except recognize, do I have a middle term? Remember how you do the middle term, you half it then square it? I don't have a middle term. So I'm going to rewrite it like this. Write this down, guys. Rewrite. Y equals. Put x in parentheses squared minus 16 on the outside. What number is truly, really, actually added to x? No. Not 4. From here to here, what did I really add? 0. Does that make sense? We rewrote it. There is no complete the square. I normally have to complete the square, but in this one I can't complete the square. So if I do recognize it, my vertex is where? Inside comes out opposite, not that you can change it. 0 is just 0. It's not positive or negative. The outside number comes out what? The same. So actually, negative 16 way down here is my vertex. It's my y-intercept and my vertex. So I'm going to come down to here, turn and come right back up. Sketch your parabola. If you did it on your calculator, can you go over there and just turn it on, my calculator? I have to hit it on from over there. Yeah, just click the on button. It'll let me do other things, but it won't let me turn it on. Yeah, that's it. If Miss Jessup goes to y equals, and I type in x squared minus 16, I see negative 4 and positive 4, but why am I not seeing the bottom? Because it's too far down. It's at negative what? 16, which is just off my graph. Does everybody understand? If you have Desmos, you can hit a plus minus, and it will zoom it out or zoom it in for you. I do want you to become more comfortable with Desmos because you can get a lot of information from that. Okay. Last one together. Okay. First question. Classwork. Okay, first question. Does it turn up or does it turn down? Turns down. This tells me it turns down. So if it turns down, does it have a max or a min? Max. So already I know the general shape. Anybody know anything else just like that? Y-intercept is 8. So it's 0 for x, and the y is 8. Over 0, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anything else? That's all we can get from this form, isn't it? What do I need to do first as far as factoring this? I need to factor out the negative. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to factor GCF. And it's just one number. I want to factor out GCF of negative 1. So basically, I'm going to have 3 things in parentheses. So if I divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, what happens to every sign? Well, negative divided by negative makes x squared become positive x squared. A negative divided by negative makes the middle become positive 2x. And a plus 8 becomes minus 8. Guys, that trinomial does factor. So factored form, -1 out front, and it will factor 2 sets of parentheses. I'll give it x and x. Who can figure it out? What multiplies to give 8? It's going to subtract to be 2. 4 and 2. The larger number wins the sign of the middle. So which one, what does 4 have? Plus with a 4, minus with a 2. So I have to factor it to get the factored form. The first thing I noticed is I cannot do it with a negative, so I got to factor that out. Everybody good? Do we know our x-intercepts just like that? What are my x-intercepts? Comes out of the parentheses, opposite. So x is what? -4. Always comes out opposite. And x equals what? +2, because it comes out. So that's going to be -4, 0, and +2, 0. Put those on the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, +1, +2. Now, where is my line of symmetry going to be? -1. She's right. So if I take the two numbers, it's going to be -4 plus 2. Remember, trying to find the number in the middle. That's going to give me -2 divided by 2, cutting it in half, -1. So x is equal to -1. I'm going to come here to -1. Draw in your axis of symmetry. Almost done. My equation somewhere right here. But what does Miss Jessup want to practice before I end for the day? Complete the square. Do y'all remember doing this? It has been a couple of days. Okay. Let's practice. We're not going to factor everything, but we are going to factor a little bit again. Which two parts do I really need to work with when I complete the square? The first two parts or the last two parts? I really work with the first two parts. Okay, so y equals -x squared minus 2x. Pull the +8 away. Well, not yet. What's got to be factored out? I got to factor out a negative. Okay, so negative. Then the +8 still on the outside. I'm going to leave a little bit more room. I'm going to need 3 parts in here. Okay. Factor out a negative. What's a -1 factored out? +x squared. So I factored it out. I want the x squared to be positive. What's going to be in the middle? Plus. Very good. Now I'm ready to complete the square. It's been a few days. What number do I need inside parentheses to complete the square? 1. Is everybody good with 1? Half of 2 is 1. 1 times 1 is +1. But did I, well, yes, I would normally subtract. Carly's on top of it. However, did I really add a +1 or did I really add a -1? I really added a -1 times negative, so I really added a -1. So what's the opposite of adding a -1? +1. JC's on top of it. So come to the end and put +1. Does everybody remember? We did this a few days ago. I had some cards. We practiced in class. There were a few folks absent, but that's why we're revisiting those things. Do I now know what my vertex is? Okay, it's located at the x value of -1, and it goes as high as what? Positive. Oops, sorry. Miss Jessup just messed up. Sorry. I did not summarize. I was getting ahead of myself. My bad. My bad. What multiplies to give 1? That has to be 2. 1 times 1 plus, negative on the outside, parentheses, parentheses, squared plus 9, x plus 1. The two parentheses are exactly the same, so I can put squared. Now what's my vertex? The inside comes out opposite, so -1. The outside comes down as the same. So -1 and +9. I'm going to have to go a little bit above right there. Do you now know where the graph is? Okay, sketch it on there. Up, make the U-turn, come back down. Don't make it a V, make it more like a U, even if it's a skinny U. Now guys, we fisted every single part. Have we practiced factored form today? Have we done standard form today? And did we just do a little bit with vertex form? Okay. There are, whose was this, yours?